Greetings Earthlings, welcome to episode 22 of the UK Thrashers radio show. Let's kick things off with some Sidewinder. This is Slut Drop.
This one goes out to all them fake folk out there. Been all time, living a champagne lifestyle and lemonade wages. We got a little, do a big shot with a Mulberry handbag. What are you playing at?
So that was Yorkshire black and crossover band Sidewinder. As you've seen, we've launched Moshing the Roof on Volume 2, the Reach Out for Bands. Been absolutely blown away with the response at the moment. I've got 27 bands all lined up to be in the new album. Some of those are returning friends, some of those are brand new friends, and we're really looking forward to bringing that to you with the announcement starting in December. Obviously, lots of other things going on. We are planning our end-of-year lists with all our reviewers. As you've possibly seen as well, we're on the hunt for new reviewers for the website, so there's lots of people taking an interest in that. And we've got some special shows booked for you between now and Christmas that we'll hope you'll enjoy. In the meantime, let's get back on with the music. These guys released a brand new video taken from their album Evolution Apocalypse. This is Virus, and this is Basement Conversion. Okay, that was Virus and Basement Conversion. Next up is our interview with Yersin. Okay, welcome to the virtual studio. This week we have got Chris from Northeast Thrashers Yersin. Hello, Chris. Welcome.
Hiya, mate. You all right?
Yeah, good, man. So, do you want to introduce yourself, the rest of the members, what you do in the band?
So I'm Chris. I'm vocalist in Yersin. We've also got Rob, who plays all the guitars. And then we've got Mal, who's our drummer.
So only a three-piece. No, when you say all the guitars, does he does bass and guitar? Does he?
Yeah, he does the full lot. We did used to have a bass player until late last year, about a year ago. The lad just said he wasn't enjoying it anymore. And we're all mates outside of the band, so we didn't want to get like a stranger in. So the way Rob has it, he's got like a setup where his guitar goes through several guitar amps and then it's split through a bass cab as well. It does the job. It sounds menacing.
Touch on that then. What's the band's history? How long have you guys kind of been together? And you said you're mates, but how did you decide that you were gonna make some noise together?
So it started about 2014. Me and our guitar player Rob played in a band about 10, 12 years ago, playing like kind of Killswitch Engage rip-offs. But then we just all stopped playing in bands really. Then Rob texted me out the blue saying his dad was having a 65th birthday party in like a pub function room. And his dad's into like old school Sabbath, Priest. And he says, "Oh, if you fancy, just doing a few numbers." So played like 6 songs one night. It was a bit Priest, some Stephen Wolf. We even got some Napalm Death in there just for the crack. And we enjoyed it. So after that, we thought, you know what, why don't we do our own stuff? We didn't really intend to be, grind with thrash. We just thought we'll play some riffs and see what comes of it.
Yeah, I kind of introduce you as a thrash band then, pretty, but yeah, I guess you're, that it's in the loosest possible term, because there's definitely a kind of, you say, grindcore-y, noisecore element to it as well. Describe the Yersin sound for people who haven't heard it.
So it's fast, loud, abrasive. Usually anything over 2 minutes is a ballad in our eyes. We've got all sorts of elements. We all like so much different music. It all just comes into the arrangement when we write a song. Nothing's off limits. Musically, we'll give anything a try. If it doesn't work, we'll scrap it. There's no such thing as a bad idea.
So those influences, where do they? You're going to touch on a couple of them. Where does the boundaries lies? Have you got you outside of metal, or further afield as well? So
influences wise, we do like all sorts. When it comes to metal, we all three of us like bands like Behemoth, Satyricon, Napalm Death, and then like the more traditional like Slayer, Exodus, Obituary. But then like myself, I like classic rock of all things. I like proper dad stuff as well. I like the Eagles, the Beatles, Rolling Stones. I know Rob's into rap. Mal, our drummer, he likes dance music as well. So we do have a lot of music you would expect us not to like.
Do you think any elements of that sneak in? Do you sometimes kind of think, who's the fuck that's put this D beat down the middle of a?
I think sometimes, like when I say I like the Eagles, I like them because it's decent songwriting and it's always got a chorus. And with a lot of our songs, even though it is in your face, fast and loud, to me there's always got to be like a hook to grab you somewhere along the song. Otherwise, there's got to be something where someone walks away from the gig or walks away from listening to the CD, either humming it or remembering a line.
So where the name Yersin, where's that from?
So it's from we used to be called Violence, because I'm a big fan of Clockwork Orange, and I thought, this is the most original name ever.
There's another one.
A few gigs in, we got a few gigs in, we got a cease and desist from the official Ultraviolence. So we had gigs already, penciled in. So we changed it just UV for a little bit, and that just wasn't cutting the mustard. So we did the whole, on our band chat WhatsApp group, just keep sending names. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Now, drummer Mal sent over Yersin, and he was like, "Oh, it's the guy who discovered, I believe it's the bacteria to do with the plague."
Okay.
So the guy's name was, I think, was Yersin something, and we just said, you know what? Yeah, we'll have that. We're trying to incorporate the bacteria bit into all of our artwork somewhere. So it was just simple as us sitting on WhatsApp for hours, just back and forth, and eventually, I think we're even doing those band name generator things online. Just that the hardest thing is finding a band name.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, a lot of people say that, coming up with an original riffs that don't sound like someone else's is hard, but I think finding a name's probably the hardest thing for any band to do at the moment.
Oh, definitely. It's like you see about riffs, like we play songs and then we'll go, oh, that one sounds a bit like Slayer. This bit sounds a bit like Metallica, and it's like, oh, you can't. It's really hard to do anything that's completely original because you're all influenced by certain music, so it's bound to come through a little bit in what you play.
You talk about the CD. Your new album, is that the first album?
So we do have a previous 8-track, which was just an EP, but this is our first full-length 10-track album.
Okay, so that came out. Guilt came out last week.
Last Friday, Saturday. Yeah, we took pre-orders from the beginning of October, and then everything got sent out last weekend.
Okay, so how's that been received?
It's been received really well. We've had a few reviews, and they've all been decent. A mixed bag, because we do try to mix like kind of I think we'll probably lie somewhere between like black metal and thrash and like crust punk and hardcore. So my vocal style over the top isn't your standard just, screaming throughout. It's got a bit more of a punk element, just to appeal to more people. But no, we've sold a good few, great reviews, other things in the pipeline, reviews and interviews. So it's all going really well. So far, it's been really well received.
That's good. So how was that all done? Was it you home studio? Have you all recorded in isolation and stuck it together, or did you manage to get all the material down before COVID version 1 hit?
So when COVID version 1 started, we had like every band for 2020, we had big plans. This was going to be our year. We're going to play loads of gigs, loads of stuff was going to happen, and obviously it didn't. A few weeks into lockdown, we managed to secure an abandoned dance studio, which was about 40 foot long. So we were kind of able to go in wearing PPE, stand, either side of the room, and be able to write the album from that. We did look bizarre. Walk like it was alien going in, with gloves on, hand sanitizing our hands all the time, masks on. But that's what we did just to get the album done. And then it was about June, July time when the lockdown eased up. We were able to get into No Studios down in Manchester for 3 days. Recorded with Joe Clayton, who plays in a band, I think I'm pronouncing it right, called Ping. That's spelled Pign. He's also a session player in a band called Leached, who we've played with once or twice, and they're quality.
Okay, so you managed to kind of get the best of both worlds. You still got to rehearse live together and learn the songs and write the songs together, but you managed to get a real studio to do the grunt work. Yeah, that's it. That's the be all and end all of it, really. None of us are too clued up when it comes to home recording, so it wouldn't have ended up. Sounding any good at all. The album writing stuff, obviously, so you've got a guitarist who does guitars and bass in one. What about the other stuff? Who writes all the music and the lyrics? Does being the vocalist, does the lyrics fall to you? So with the vocals, the lyrics do fall to me mainly. But sometimes like Rob comes up with all those like the music, the riffs and stuff, and then me and Mal kind of chime in saying, look, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? The vocal duties, the lyrics do fall down to me, but I'm always more than happy to let, I'll run a few lines by the lads, and if they say, look, change this, do this, why don't you accent this bit? We all have our 2 cents worth. And what about the themes for those, the tracks? Do they come from, they come from the music and it's just like, oh, it sounds like this, or have you got is there a story behind any of it, or, how does it all come together? So we have all sorts. Like the new album, like the title "Guilt," it's like a running theme through the album. There's a form of like guilt in each song. A lot of the songs come from we'll just be having a crack on in the practice. I'm talking about just utter bollocks, and then we'll go, "Oh, that sounds great. Write a song about it." So one of the tracks,
we were talking about Michael Barrymore, and just one of us made a joke about if he was a robot or something, and one of the songs just came from that. It's called Insidious Mechanized Barrymore. There's some serious songs, and then there's some where, so, let's have a laugh still.
So where do you take the band next? Obviously, as you say, 2020 has been a complete shit show. How are you going to kind of take it the next step?
So with them, we're on a mailing list for local bands for like support slots, and every few months we'll get emails saying, look, there's these bands looking for a support slot, please send your details over. We've applied for a good dozen for next year, about April, May time. Obviously that's COVID and vaccine dependent. Hopefully those will pay off. We've also looking to do a few splits with other bands across the world. We've got a band in Canada who we're looking to do a 2 or 3 song split with. We don't want to do a full new album just yet. We'd love to do a few little tours next year, play this album. We've worked really hard making it. Would like to play it live a good few times before, going back to the practice room and slogging out 10 to 12 new songs.
You touched the kind of the local scene there and getting support gigs. What's the northeast scene like at the moment? It always seems to be quite strong. We got friends in Scar by Truth and Novichok and bands like that. How is the scene at the moment up there?
The scene's really good. There's loads of heavy bands playing. Some are better received than others. We've got bands around the northeast, like we've got Geist, we've got Live Burial, Plague Rider, Hell Crusher, Fiend. There's Cast and Tefra. There's loads of good bands. We did have an all-day lineup for the beginning of October put together, and it was going to be 13 heavy bands, and it was going to be £5 in, great venue. But then with continuing COVID, we had to knock it on the head. That was going to be, I don't want to blow out trumpets and say maybe a gig of the year, but it was going to be big stuff. But we just had to pull the plug on it, unfortunately.
So what about the venues to back up the scene? Is it still good for venues? Because obviously Trillions is the infamous kind of what about other places? Is there still plenty of places to play, or there was before COVID anyway?
Yeah, so there's still there's Trillions, there's the Head of Steam, there's places through Biker, there's the little buildings that our friend Alan runs. He's been really good to us with the band. We're Sunderland based, so we try to we've got a few venues in Sunderland that don't really get the recognition they deserve, and people from Newcastle don't seem to want to get on a 20-minute metro ride to come through. But we're always come through to Newcastle, so we're trying to get more gigs in Sunderland. About 10 years ago, Sunderland had a great music scene. It was really vibrant, and that's just seemed to have died off. So we're trying to get more people over our side of the water, and just help our city out too. Yeah,
do you think is that sometimes a problem when you've got two cities so close together that one of them always seems to be striding and the other one always seems to do all the travel?
That's it, yeah. So anytime a big band comes up, because there's not a massive music venue in Sunderland. So when a big band comes up, or a band who are semi-big and doing a tour, they'll go for their date in Newcastle over Sunderland, any day of the week. So it's always us trekking up, which we don't mind. It's a 20-minute car journey or metro journey. But there's 2 or 3 decent-sized venues in Sunderland, and it's a shame they don't get used for heavy music. We put Fetal Juice on last year in a place called Independence, and we had a canny turnout. But the same night there was a similar gig on at the Head of Steam in Newcastle, so people were divided between which one do I go to. If anything, it was more just down to not poor planning, just choosing the wrong date.
Yeah, and I guess it's always a risk, isn't it? Everyone's trying to do the same thing, and then you just, unfortunately, if you choose the same date as someone 20 minutes down the road, it's just you're both going to suffer a little bit, really.
That's it. That's the be all and end all. We picked a date, and just by coincidence, a few days later, this other gig's been announced. There's no malice intended in it. It's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, sure. And what about?
That's exactly how shit happens.
And what about further afield? You kind of heading kind of west. You doing Manchester gigs or anything like that?
Yeah, so we played just outside of Manchester in March. It was our first gig before, all this lockdown happened. It was great. We played with a band called Eyelicker from down that way. They're really good, kind of punk hardcore. That was only our second gig. It was a 3-piece, so we're lugging all of our amps upstairs. And halfway through the set, I'm sure the promoter was like, "Look, you need to turn down because the foundations are shaking in the building." So it was like, "Oh shit, we best do it." We had the landlord upstairs saying all our pictures had fell off the wall and that. So that was like a little victory. We played Carlisle a few times with our mates in Crunch Destroyer. They're a good set of lads. Like this year, we were wanting to do further afield. Like we all have full-time jobs and families, but we want to do like weekenders away and stuff, play a few gigs, but it just hasn't happened, which is a crying shame for ourselves as well as every other band in the same situation.
Yeah. As I said, over the last 3 or 4 months, I've spoken to 20 odd bands all in exactly the same boat. From the kids starting up and they're just doing their first demo to your onslaughts and your solitaries have all hit exactly the same. This has been the grand leveler, hasn't it? Everyone's in the same shit.
It's just scary. It's like like everyone I get Facebook memories and Instagram memories from a year ago, 2 years ago. And it's, pictures of gig tickets, pictures at gigs, me and the lads having a few pints at gigs. It just feels so odd. It's been so long since it's been a proper gig.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we something came up the other day. It was like, who was the last band you saw live? And it's like, fucking hell, it was Testament back in March. On the it's like I can't remember a time that I've gone that long without even at least a little pub show.
Definitely, like that. The last gig I think me and the lads went to, it was when Leeds to see on the Napalm Death tour. So it was their Misery Index, Bat, Rotten Christ. Like that was a good show. And like looking back, if I knew that was going to be the last one for however many months, I probably wouldn't have, drunk so many pints. I would have probably enjoyed it more and not taking it for granted.
No, I think that's potentially the only positive out the back end of this, isn't it? Is people have realised, how important the local scenes is and how important the venues are and getting out and supporting bands. Hopefully that, people won't be too kind of short-sighted or short-term memory with it and kind of give all these bands a good bit of support on the flip side of this.
Yeah, because you'd like to think, every band, no matter how big, did start off in like, a basement or a practice room, like bands like, Metallica, Sabbath, Pantera, they all started somewhere. Every big band started as a local band. So hopefully, like we're saying, people will appreciate it when it comes back and people will start attending more shows.
What about the larger the UK scene at the moment? How do you feel part of a bigger scene? Do you look at bands across the UK and kind of go, like what they're doing, like to go on tour with them or play some shows with them or all that sort of stuff? Or
so I'm getting to me and the lads, I think we're kind of more getting to the point where when it comes to bigger bands, we like what we know and what we grew up on, sort of thing. I don't really watch music channels anymore. When I was younger, I'd be flicking through, Kerrang, Scuzz, MTV2, every night, or let's check this band out. I don't do that as much anymore. It's, it's not me being ignorant. I'd rather check more underground bands. Speaking of bands who are making a name for themselves, we played with them. We were open for Employed to Serve a few years ago. And now they're getting pretty big. They've played a good few festivals, like Download, Bloodstock, things like that. But no, we're more, focused on more of the underground than mainstream.
And you just mentioned Metal to the Masses and Bloodstock stuff there. Is that something that you'd think about? Would you do a kind of a new blood go for a Metal to the Masses place?
So we've done Metal to the Masses in Newcastle twice. The first time we didn't get through to the next round, but then we had a review that said this is exactly the sort of band that should play Bloodstock. So, we don't know really where that came from. The second time we got through to the semi-finals, we got loads of good feedback, saying we tore the roof off the place, and we just didn't get through. I'm not going to criticize any of the bands who advanced because they're all we're all in it for the same thing, but some of it to me wasn't metal. that got further. That the name is in the title, metal to the masses. It's not blues, it's not standard rock and roll. I want metal, but fair play to it brings bands together. It's with the heat, it's 4 or 5 bands who would normally not play together.
Yeah,
and they've been put onto this show. It's a good way of networking.
So I was just going to say some of those heats are amazing. You say you get 4 local underground bands that maybe wouldn't you normally get on the same bill, and put them all together, and some of those heats can be a brilliant night out.
Oh, definitely. It's amazing how much music there is. I used to go down some of the nights we weren't playing just to check out the bands, and you get blown away by. You think how the fuck haven't I seen this band before? They're tearing it up. So
what about on the other sort of the festivals? Is there any of the other festivals around the UK that you kind of throwing your hat towards? There's a lot. There's a lot more. Your Damnations and your things like that. Is there more undergroundy festivals that you kind of quite like the idea of?
Yeah. So at the minute, we're being kind of social media whores, if you will, and getting in touch with anyone who'll give us the time of day. Like we don't do copy and paste messages because you can tell. So it's us like sitting typing out messages to anyone, emails to anyone. I even emailed the guy who books bands for download just for the shits and giggles. He'll either reply or he'll just go, "Nah, yeah, all right, delete." Damnation Fest. It's a festival I've always wanted to go to, and I was checking through my Facebook memories the other day, and something's always came up to stop us going. And it looks like such a good thing they're doing. Like, it's so great bands, but in smaller venues and stuff, which I love. Yeah. It's more, you feel it more than being in a big arena or a big field.
What about kind of getting in touch with you, kind of following the band? What are you, what's your social media, and where can we pick up the album and all that sort of good stuff?
So on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Yersin official. But if you just type Yersin in the search bar, it'll come up. On Instagram, it is Yersin Band. That's our tag, so you can just out our handle, so you can find us that way. Bandcamp is yersonofficial.bandcamp.com. We've stopped using Twitter. It doesn't seem to get us anywhere. We are on things like YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes. You just search Yersin Guilt, because that's our new album comes up straight away.
And copy of the new album, I guess you can stream it in most places as normal, and still get physical copies?
Yeah, so it's going to be on streams from November 6th, which when we're talking is tomorrow, but whenever it gets played is in the past. So we can get it now going to be available for streaming as well as physical copies.
Right, finally, any shout outs, thanks, or any other stuff you want to put out there in Cyberland?
So I'd like a big shout out to Joe Clayton at No Studios, who recorded us, put us up. He was a true professional. It's the first time we went into the studio and properly worked. He was like, he didn't stop until it was done. It was like, no, you've got another take in you. We also like a big thank you to Will at Audio Siege out in the States, who mastered the album. There's loads of bands locally who would like to say thanks to. There's Geist, there's Anti-Bastards, like I said earlier, Plague Rider, Live Burial, our mates in Crunch Destroyer, Alan, who manages the Little Buildings venue, Dave, who manages Trillions. There's far too many for us I could be here for a good hour just listening to people who've helped us. So, put us on gigs, share out posts.
Chris, thanks for spending some time chatting to us. Hope the album sales continue. People start enjoying it on Spotify, and hopefully you'll get back to gigging sometime in the not too distant future.
Thank you very much, mate. Cheers for having us.
Thanks, mate. So that was Yersin. This is the title track of their new album. This is Guilt. Okay, next up is a band that joined us on last year's Moshing the Roof On. This is Obsidian and this is Raven. So next up we're going to head overseas, we're going to head to Italy. This is Warfoil and Brain Dead Diver.
Ciao, Ciao.
Clash's Raw Foil, that's taken from their Tales from the Fort Towers EP that came out earlier this year. And next up is a band that joined us on last week's show. This is Holy Command by Inhuman Nature. Okay, next up is another band that's joining us in the next couple of weeks. This is Novichok. This is Vengeance Rising.
Tries to blow, push my buttons by below, get into the beast within, in this state of vile sin, mental regression, psychotic eviction, hatred injection, unleashed aggression. Oh. This abuse is sinking inside out. You'll pay the time held out. Thought you couldn't do it. You kept tempting us. Violent impulse breaking free. Gonna grab you by the throat. Vengeance through violence. humanity now. Vengeance rising, vengeance rising. Such a throat, blow to the head. When we're done, wish you were dead. Back to the skull, blood rush through. Brain, psychotic rage. Black and mud, bottom slide. Moral chains have shattered. Try testing our patience. Say the only thing that matters. Rage rides are gonna blow. Push my buttons by the load. Get into the beats within. In this state of foul sin. Mental regression. Psychotic infection. Hatred injection. Unleash aggression. Vengeance rising. Vengeance rising. Riding rage, for blood we're thirsty. There's no hope left as you beg for mercy. Rage rides a gun blow. Push my buttons by the load. Get into the beast within. In this state of foul sin. Mental regression. Psychotic infection. Hatred injection. Unleash aggression.
Okay, that was future guest Novichok and taken from their Vengeance Through Violence EP, Vengeance Rising. Next up is what we all need to do in these unsettling times. This is Thrasquatch, Thrash Till Death.
Remember how to be who I am. Calling something great escape, right up further to the pit. Sense of all the nothing left in morning weak. We will stand back now. We will fight our ground. We will not sit down. What to do? The fiery stars will burn within, ignite the spark and start the flame to light your darkest star. If light starts to beat you down, know you're not alone. This music gives us strength to stand back up, thrash till death. United by the screams of strength, we bang our heads in one. We will never let the dark times hold us down, thrash till death.
A bit of nonsense from our friends in Thrash Squatch finishing the show. Thank you for joining us. Keep watching us online, keep looking out for all those reviews, and we'll see you next week with a brand new guest.